In the 21st century, innovation is the lifeblood of great enterprises. As Michael Wachira, the Chief Executive Officer of Virtual Essence, puts it, enterprise without innovation would be a hard sell. When he started his business a decade ago, he sought to introduce a new way of doing things. His firm, Virtual Essence, was in the business of selling personal computers and installation networks. Through innovation, the firm saw an opportunity to venture into the education space with the aim of accelerating the use of information communication technology in schools.
Thanks a lot for having me here. My name is Michael Wachira from Virtual Lessons Limited. My background is ICT, so I went to school. I did mathematics in campus, but I did computers a little bit in campus as well. I went to Strathmore. I did IMIS, which is for layman's language, a computer course, which enabled me to understand programming, etc., management of information systems. And where I've worked before is primarily has been on the ICT side. So myself and my partner will be more on the ICT field, and it's from that innovation kind of background that we felt we need to try and innovate an area that has no ICT entry completely. Yeah, it's more ICT. We've been in the market for around 10 years now, from 2009. And we started off with a product called MsingiPACK. We have the junior one for class 1, 2, and 3, and we have one for the senior primary school, which is class 6, 7, and 8, which is a little bit more towards revision and exams, etc., which came out in 2009. We started off, first of all, from 7 and 8. Then as the demand grew, I think 2 years or 3 years later, we came up with the class 6. We started off with the class 1 product around 2 years ago. So just to give you a little bit of shade of light, innovation is something that we understand normally from our own lives, but not in the education space. Earlier on in my life, I had the chance to work in very innovative companies. I think some of the best innovative companies on the planet to date. And what you used to see is that if you look at your life, you have PCs that are innovative, you have phones that are innovative. Yeah? Just imagine life without innovation today. You'll have to maybe walk home. Yeah? Innovation has really changed our lives. If you look at today, M-Pesa has changed our lives. They used to transact before, and they transact today is completely different. Now, all this innovation has been very vague or not done on the education space. The education used to be delivered 50 years ago. In some schools, it's the same way it's being delivered today. Just think about innovation in the education space. Just think about what you can do if you're able to understand your child, what subjects they go wrong, how you can be able to improve their learning, being able to have analytics in the education space. I mean, that's like innovative. So I wouldn't say it was a gap at that point. It was more, it was in the industry. I mean, the industry was completely traditional. It was more looking at the other industries out there and see what innovation can do. And that started off with e-commerce. Yeah? Finance completely changed because of technology. If you look at everything else, transport, etc., changed. If you look at the way people communicate on the internet, we used to operate purely on read material. Now we're talking about education and being able to have information delivered to you in real time. So it's about comparing the rest of the segments and a place where it's completely virgin. So the company is called Virtual Lessons, which actually started around 4 years before. It was an ICT company. We used to do websites, selling of PCs, installation of servers, LAN, wide area network, and a system integrator. 4 years later, we developed a division within the company called a Virtual Learning Center, which eventually dropped. So it was a company that is doing 4 things, and the 5th one was a division doing e-learning. That the division was doing now the product called MsingiPACK. Yeah? Now, 3 years after that, we realized the education segment is way too big. We need to have all the resources geared exactly to focus on that area. So we dropped off everything else and started off MsingiPACK.
Virtual Essence introduced a refreshing new concept in the education sector in Kenya, and developed an offering that has opened up the previously untapped markets.
The market was completely blank. One of the, I think, the biggest milestones or other obstacles at that time was the fact that no one understood what digital can mean in the education space. So we are not even selling our product. We are trying to convince people, how can you transform the normal way you teach in a digital way? So teachers were the first one to say no, they don't even understand it, and they do want to feel like the children know a little bit more than they do, which is a little bit normal. Yeah, a lot of the teachers were not digitally literate. So we are having children coming up, they know how to play the tablets at home. When they come to school, they can play around with the software, but the teachers know we're coming from a completely different angle.
His firm developed MsingiPACK, a computer application that contained lessons and revision papers. The product aimed to avail digitized past papers on computers to pupils in classes 7 and 8.
I thought, okay, I think we need to start by having past papers available very, very quickly in one device. And we started off exactly like that, with past papers.
MsingiPACK sought to change the way Kenyan pupils revised for exams. Remembering his days in primary school, Wachira says that he used to carry large, bulky files that contained past papers. Revising using such files was not only time-consuming, but also demotivating to pupils.
When I used to be in school, we used to carry these huge files. We used to call them file, just like that. So we put all the past papers that can be able to work out. How can you be able to convert this into a place where I can be able to sit, it marks for you, and it was, I think, an opportunity, not just for us, but for the market. And that's how we started.
While adoption of technology has gone up in the last decade, things were completely different 2 decades ago when accessing a computer was a big challenge. Today, children as young as 5 are able to use gadgets and devices. This has been accelerated by the government's move to introduce digitized learning in primary schools.
Look at it something, myself, I touched a computer the first time when I was 24 years old. Imagine kids today being able to touch computers and tablets in the education space when they are 6 years old, when they are 5 years old. That's transformative. And that's what we do. So our job is to try and convert the conventional learning into a digital space in order to understand more trends, how can you be able to benefit your children in a way that you understand better. So just bring innovation here.
As Michael and his partner discovered, there was latent demand for their products. 2 years ago, the firm started developing the Class 1 product. Michael says that technology is not magic. They have demonstrated that it can be used to transform the education sector. How do they do it?
So one of the things that we're looking about software, but software, to be honest, is not magic. Technology is not magic. Teachers are. So we need to look at, bring teachers who can be able to develop content which we convert to be able to be readable in a digital way. So we had engineers who are working on it, who are working on the application, etc. But on the other hand, we got something called the academic task force. We got a team of practicing teachers, and their job was to sit down and deliver content. So we went to the KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, which is the government arm. We got the whole curriculum on the primary schools. We got teachers to be able to have a look at it and develop content which is aligned to that. Today we have textbooks. That time we had textbooks, yeah, but we didn't have any kind of interactive content. So it was to look at it, then to develop scripts that can be able to be converted. Then we used our engineers in-house to be able to have that kind of conversion. And that's when we produced our first product in 2009.
At some point, Michael realized that he could move away from just digitizing papers. He focused on digitizing a curriculum for primary school pupils and interactive content that could help them learn and have fun.
That the division was doing now the product called MsingiPACK. Yeah? Now 3 years after that, we realized the education segment is way too big. We need to have all the resources geared exactly to focus on that area. So we dropped off everything else and decided on MsingiPACK.
Currently, the firm is working on virtual version 5.0, having started off with the version 1, which had lessons and activities that enable children to learn better.
So as you can see, we have version 4.1. We're actually producing 5.0 in around 3 weeks' time. We started off with version 1, which only had class 8. We went on to produce version 2 that had class 6, 7, and 8, but only exams. We developed version 3 that had all the lessons and all the weekly activities to be able to enable children to be able to learn better. We developed version 4.0, which had more interactive. So it had games, kids could be able to drag and drop. It had multimedia with voice, etc., more interactive. Currently, we are going to produce version 5.0, which is going to cut across all the devices. Currently, we have one that you're installing on Android tablets, Android smartphones, any device that you have. The version 5.0 that is going to come out is going to be a cross-platform. Whether you have a Mac, an Apple tablet, an Android tablet, an Android smartphone, a PC, you're installing it anywhere you have.
The product, which primarily targets private primary schools, was well received in the market. With over 22,000 public primary schools in Kenya and a further 13,000 private primary schools, the MsingiPACK product can easily reach every corner of the country. But there are impediments. Only 20% of private schools have some basic ICT structures. In public primary schools, a paltry 2% schools have ICT structures.
Our primary target, so the target is the education segment, yeah, so which is split into 3. So we have schools, we have parents, and we say parents, I mean parents and children, and we have teachers. So our initial products actually had a place for teachers, content for teachers, it had content for parents, and it had content for kids. Currently, we focus more on the content for children, but our target market primarily becomes schools. A lot of the schools have computer labs or laptops in the class, but they don't have value that children continue using in those devices. They learn Microsoft Word and Excel a little bit. Then they learn this is a mouse or this is a screen. But then after that, they don't have something that they can be able to use the education, let's say curriculum with the device. Yeah? So the first thing is to transform the school labs into value-added libraries, I would say. The second segment is the parents. So the schools at home, the children at home, they normally have devices that they play with. They play games and they learn from the internet. How can you be able to have value with those kind of devices? So we target parents to sell to their laptops and to install in their devices, in their tablets. So what you're seeing, first of all, we have around 22,000 public schools, around 13,000 private schools. If you look at these two, a lot of private schools have started having an ICT entry point from a few years ago, around 5 years ago. Around 20% of private schools will have some sort of ICT structure. Yeah? This number has increased for the last 3 years because of the whole government program, from around 20% to around 35% entry. Public schools, on the other hand, have been very, very low. I think we've got an ICT entry before the government at around maybe 2% or below, where very big public schools like Nairobi Primary, Kilimani already had an interest in ICT. But the majority of public schools do not have any understanding on anything like that. From the lab environment, but also the teachers didn't have an understanding on how they can be able to be literate enough in a digital way to be able to teach in that way.
Digitizing interactive content is not easy. In the education sector in Kenya, publishers compete to provide textbooks to schools, but few have original content. MsingiPACK offers a different choice to schools in that the content provided is original.
So what we've seen in the market, first of all, we are coming from a background of very strong competition on a textbook kind of platform. So you have a lot of people who already print textbooks for coursework in schools. We had very few people in this market who had digital content which was original. So in the past, we had a couple of people who got content from India.
Selling MsingiPACK at a time when computers and the internet were not available in most homes was bound to be a challenge.
Yeah, so there are a couple of challenges. I may list a few. So one of them, of course, will be the internet, and that's why we have to change the tactic initially, because internet is available in Nairobi, but if you go just a little bit outside, the people there don't even have internet completely, not even in their PCs, also in their tablets. The second major impediment has been devices. So a lot of people don't have PCs. You see people having a laptop for work, but your children don't have laptops, or they don't have tablets. So you're not able to have the solution to get in, because then people did not have that understanding that children need to use devices. The third biggest, I would say, problem was actually having accurate content that is approved to be able to be sold. Yeah? You get teachers and they develop the content and it's great, but then you realize, I think one individual is different from another one. So some teachers develop good content, some teachers don't develop good content, so again you have to throw it away and you have to get new content. I think that content journey has been, I think for us, one of the largest impediments to be able to reach success. Yeah, one of the biggest problems was you need to convince people to move in a digital way, then after that you need to sell your product. The first item is very, very difficult because people have lived for years doing something in one way. It's very difficult for you to change that. So the fact that the government is pushing the digital learning program into the market in a very big way transforms the market. It makes people start realizing, I think if students can be able to learn differently, if they can have devices, they can be tracked easier, it's a good thing for us. Teachers start accepting it. So once they do that, if you go and talk to them, the conversation now is not about you need to move to digital. They already know that. The government is doing a good job. Now it's about my product can be able to make you reach there faster, more efficient, and more accurately.
However, with the advancement in technology and the wide adoption of fiber for homes, Wachira and his team are developing online content. The product costs 1,000 Kenya shillings per computer, and learners can download parts of the lessons online. MsingiPACK CDs hold one application which contains 5 lessons. The CDs go for 2,000 Kenya shillings each.
The plan we had at that time, it has been changing. Yeah? The plan we had at that time is to be able to have subscription models where every child can be able to read or rather access to educational content very, very cheaply and everywhere. We realized that is very difficult because a lot of people didn't have devices. Internet was not as available as it is today. So our first change of plan was to be able to have offline content, which means we have an application which is installed on a device, then it becomes an application, you don't need to use internet and access it. So we went a little bit backwards in that. Now moving forward, one of the things we want to do is to be able to have online content. Currently we have a lot of fiber to the house. We have 4G from Safaricom, which means internet is getting to be more and more available and getting to be cheap as well. So one of the things that we want to give customers options to be able to read on the go. So if you want to be able to buy one application that has all the content, then you can buy it, it costs 2,000 shillings. Or you can be on the go and you want to access pieces of the content, then you can be able to access it over the internet, which is how the milestone will be looking at. This version is for schools. It holds one application, and one application has a minimum of 5 licenses. So each license costs you 2,000 shillings. Now, for the schools, it's dependent on how many computers you have. If you have a lab environment and you have 20 computers, then you need to get a license for 20 of them. And we have an option of you installing for yourself. It's completely easy to install. Just put it, plug and play, it installs. Some schools need a little bit of help, and we offer that from ourselves. And that's a discussion that we have to have in the school, where we can be able to install for them. For the homes, we have again the same edition where you carry this one and you take home and you put it in your laptop. Again, it's very easy to install. We have our customer care available. If you have any difficulty, you call the numbers that are at the back of the pack, and if you have any difficulty installing, they can be able to help you.
Moving it to different parts of the country has been easy due to the availability of partners in Nakuru, Mombasa, and Eldoret.
So the sales angle comes from Nairobi. Our head office is Nairobi. We have partners all around the major towns. We have partners in Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret that you work with. We work very closely with associations of schools, let's say like the Kenya Private School Association, to be able to market the product. Currently, the activations we are in around 85% of the country today. We in around 41 counties out of the 47 that you already having people actually using the product. But the distribution model is primarily through our partners and also direct sales to schools.
How impactful has the product been? Michael says that most of the pupils using MsingiPACK report academic progress.
If you looked at last year, some of the students that were top, according to the media, into the KCP, a lot of them interviewed, mentioned that they did very well. They increased their performance as a result of using MsingiPACK. We have a couple of examples within Nairobi of schools that have been using it for around 4 years now. Our first product was primarily class 6, 7, and 8, which was primarily increasing performance. So having past papers, you sit, it marks for you, it gives you a revision tutorial program, which was already, we got a lot of positive impact, both from the teachers and from the parents.
While his team of over 200 professionals working hard to create the classes 5 and 6 lessons, there is demand from pre-primary school and secondary school levels.
We don't have class 4 and 5, we have class 6, 7, and 8. So the immediate ones you're working on is to close the gap, class 4 and 5, which is we were working on for the next 2 months. We should be able to have this one out. A lot of demand has come from backwards, pre-primary. A lot of people are using class 1, they're asking, our kindergartens are already using devices, do you have content for them? So that's, I think, one of our short-term goals to be able to achieve by the end of the year, having content for pre-primary. For secondary school and tertiary, again, is another area we are looking at. A lot of the students who have used MsingiPACK for primary school and they go to secondary, they feel there's a gap. Okay, now we've been used to learning digitally, what are you going to do? So that's something again we're looking at within the next, within this year as well. We are looking at getting into that. So we had a team of around 20 engineers working on it, and the engineers are varied. So we have programmers for coding, we have animators for graphics. Again, those are different. But on the other hand, we had a team of around 98 teachers who we put together in something called the academic task force. So each subject had a team of around 5. It had a team leader. Then the team leader had the head of them. The total was around 98 to be able to come up with the content and also the quality assurance team.
Michael's background is in ICT. He has gained a wealth of experience working in the ICT sector. What does it take to succeed as an entrepreneur?
The number one thing you need to have is guts. I had a discussion the other day with some people, and they said, oh, okay, the number one thing is money. I think at the beginning I thought it's money, but there's so much perseverance that you need to go through. Money is just one of them. I mean, capital is a really big deal. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have enough capital, but also on the other hand, they don't have enough, let me say, mentors, someone who understands forward and is able to guide them. How do they spend? What kind of processes do they build their companies with? How do you get the right talent in? What do you do? So what they do is that they leave, they have a very good idea. Many people have good ideas, but after the idea, they are doing everything for the first time. And I think that that's the number one problem. And it would be great if you can have, they can have access to people who can be able to coach them or mentor them, or have a program that can be able to listen to people who've done it before.
Getting capital to start the business was one of the hurdles he had to overcome. Getting the right people to hire presents Wachira with another challenge.
We had a couple of savings, which we put together to try and start off. That was way from being enough. So what we do is that we looked at a couple of financial institutions, we did business plans, but we did not get a single shilling. And all their reasons were very, very aligned. We're going to give you money, you burn the cash, because our cash was mainly operational, payment to developers, etc. The traditional financing model understands buying machinery or buying land. Yeah? So which is a very big problem for entrepreneurs in the ICT industry. Because you're not going to buy anything. I'm not asking money to buy anything. I'm going to pay people. Yeah. So no one, they told me that that model is not available in the current banking or financial institution at that time. So we're not able completely to. So we went ahead and tried to get from our own personal cash, and we actually had to grow a little bit slower as a result. We are facing a bit of a challenge with the crop, let me call it the millennials, where people are coming from college and they're not looking for work, they're looking for salaries, they're looking for money. Yeah. So we have two crops. People who want to go to corporate life and they want to get in and start earning 200,000 shillings a month. They don't understand that you need to have experience and you need to be able to grow in a certain level, which is a very big problem. A lot of them are failing. We probably they're going to the highest level of competence, where you have to apply for big jobs, you have to be called a manager the first year of work. Yeah, this is making them try to move a little faster, then they end up failing. I think they need to understand, they need to groom a little bit from college and to be able to be effective from a work perspective. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, have again a challenge. We have a lot of people with very good ideas. They need to have an understanding of what it takes to convert the idea into something which can be a business. That is a gap. They don't have a lot of information and they are not very willing to get the information. They look at it very pessimistically, yeah? Which is something they need to be able to understand. They need to be able to look at people, have an idea, then be able to get positive criticism on how they can be able to get guidance.